This video may not be for everyone. Not everyone has multiple ways to play game. I believe if you're watching this channel, you probably have more than one gaming device in your home that's at least reasonably current. So right now here I have a Steam Deck. If you've been following my channel, I talk a lot about the Steam Deck. This gives me access to the huge Steam library in a handheld form. And then of course, I love my Nintendo Switch, and the Nintendo Switch gives access to a huge library of not only Nintendo games, but a lot of indie games, a lot of third-party ports that were at one point pretty amazing to play handheld until the Steam Deck came along and blew it out of the water, graphically speaking. Of course, I have my beloved 3DS XL. Absolutely love this thing, and despite the fact that it's a little bit older, there are still a lot of games that you can choose whether you want to play it on the 3DS or another platform. A lot of 3DS games got ported to other systems, and a lot of games from other systems got ported to the 3DS, so you have that choice still when you're out there retro hunting. And then of course I've got the mighty PS5, and there's a lot of games that are at the moment exclusive to Sony platforms, but then Sony is starting to move a lot of their games over to PC, so I can play something like Horizon or God of War on here. They're going to be bringing Spider-Man and Miles Morales to Steam very soon, so that gives you choices, that gives you options on where you want to play these games. And then of course for mobile games, my iPad does a great job of playing a lot of mobile games like Diablo Immortal right now. Whatever your thoughts on the situation with microtransactions in Diablo Immortal, there is still a really great game in there, and there's still the option to play for free, at least to get through the story mission and find out more of the lore about the game. So yeah, there are a lot of options in a lot of people's households, especially if you're watching this channel, you probably have at least a couple of these options available to you. So how do you choose? What process goes through your mind when you try to decide which platform you're going to get a game for? Now, obviously, we have to talk about exclusive games. If a game is exclusive, like a first-party Nintendo game, if it's exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, you don't have a whole lot of choices available to you. You pretty much have to get it on the Nintendo Switch, unless you want to talk about emulation. If you want to emulate some of those games through, say, the Yuzu emulator on the Steam Deck, you absolutely can. I don't really support piracy or emulation of new actively being sold games, so I'm not interested in emulating. I also like having the right device for the right job, and I feel like playing a Switch game on the Steam Deck is just somehow wrong. I just want to play it on the platform it was designed for, original equipment, you know, call me crazy. I don't really have a problem with emulation of older stuff. So for example, if you were going to choose to spend hundreds of dollars buying something like Fire Emblem on the GameCube, and you have to buy the GameCube and the controller and the memory card and the game, you're probably looking at like $500, $600. And so playing that on a Dolphin emulator on the Steam Deck is probably the smarter choice at this point in time, I would agree. So I'm not against emulation, but that's not really the topic of this conversation. The choices here are, when you find a third-party game or a game that is available on multiple systems, how do you choose? How do you get away from all that console war stuff? Because this video is really in response to all of these horrible console wars arguments that we've been having going on Twitter, especially in the last month or so, since we've had the Sony State of Play and the Xbox event this summer, and everybody's up in arms because, you know, Sony fans are dunking on Starfield because they just want Xbox to fail, and Xbox fans are angry that, you know, Square Enix games aren't coming to Xbox day one, and everybody's just angry all the time. But I look at it as this: there's nothing stopping you, unless you're in a situation of poverty at least, there is nothing stopping you from owning both systems, multiple systems. You know, as you've seen here, like, you know, I own a PS5, and I can certainly choose to play Sony games on the PS5, but increasingly those games are coming to Steam as well. And in a lot of cases, I'd rather play a lot of these games handheld because I'm a handheld gaming lover. I just love the form factor of sitting comfortably on my couch with this in my hand, having something like Seinfeld or Friends or something. I'm actually watching Everybody Loves Raymond right now, and just pop Everybody Loves Raymond on the TV in the background, listen to a few of the jokes while you're playing a game. I really love that comfort feeling, that cozy feeling of having the handheld in your hands. So in a lot of cases, I'm going to choose to play a lot of Sony games, or games that you would commonly associate with a Sony platform, where I can on the Steam Deck. Does that mean that I don't use my PS5? No, I absolutely do use my PS5, but there has to be a decision process there. So in my years with the Switch, I've discovered that there are several games on the Nintendo Switch that really don't lend themselves well to handheld play. Dragon Quest XI, for example. The game is fantastic on the Switch, and if you're going to play it on the TV in docked mode, it's just fine. But I prefer to play a lot of these games in handheld, and if I can't play them handheld, sure, I can dock my Switch if I want, but if I'm going to play on a TV, I would rather use the more powerful console. So I actually sold my copy of Dragon Quest XI on the Switch, and when I got my PS5, I bought a PS4 copy of Dragon Quest XI because, it's better. The ecosystem is better. The dashboard on the PS5 is better. The quick resume, so many features are so much better on the PS5, notwithstanding the graphics, which are obviously better on the PS5. So, I made that decision to sell one version of a game and buy another, because if I'm going to play, it's not great in handheld. The text is too small. The HUD is too small, the mini-map is too small. It's just really not designed to be a handheld game. So if I'm going to play it on the TV, I want to play it on the best possible console that I have. And that would obviously be, for me, the PS5. I don't know which console you would choose, but then you look at something like Octopath Traveler, and that is a game that I very much do want to play handheld, and at one point I did own on the Switch, but I ended up selling that copy and buying a Steam version of Octopath Traveler because I feel like the Steam Deck is a much better device for a game that I want to play for a long time. One, because it's digital only and you don't have to worry about juggling around cartridges and stuff. Octopath Traveler is a game that I'm going to be playing for 60, 70, 80 hours. And, that whole idea of pulling cartridges in and out all the time, I really hate switching cartridges in the Switch. I like to put one game in there, like something like an Animal Crossing, and just leave it there, and, play some other digital stuff. So I make those decisions frequently, whether I say, should it be on the Switch or should it be on the Steam Deck? It's important that people realize that there are different systems that have different strengths and weaknesses. So, for example, with Octopath Traveler, I feel like the game runs better and looks better on the Steam Deck than it does on the Switch. And specifically, if I'm going to be playing handheld, I like the interface. I like being able to quick resume on the Steam Deck. I like being able to send it over to my PC to be able to play it on the TV with cloud saves that, gosh, I don't have to pay for cloud saves like I do on the Switch. And, the experience is pretty similar between the two, but that's just where I chose to put it. And, so many games are like this where you can choose, something like, for example, I also sold my Switch copy of Immortals Phoenix Rising and bought a PS4 copy because, again, that's a game that pretty much you want to play on a TV. You just can't appreciate the full scope of the game on a 7-inch screen. I did try to play it on the Switch, and it was fine, but I just figured if I'm gonna play it on a TV, the PS5 is the system I have hooked up to the TV. Do I have a Switch dock hooked up? Yeah, in another room, whatever, just as a secondary device. But how do you decide which system you want to play on? Do you have multiple systems that you can choose from? Maybe last gen, do you have an Xbox One S or something and a PS4? Or do you just have one, and are you kind of dedicated to collecting for only one? Because I like to spread my gaming dollars around to different platforms. I like to give myself reasons to continue investing in all the platforms that I have. I was thinking for a while now, collecting for the 3DS is getting particularly expensive. A lot of the higher end titles on the 3DS are getting quite expensive, up in the $60, $70, $100 and more. So there's a pretty popular RPG on the 3DS called The Alliance Alive. You may or may not have heard of it, but it's a very good game. And I don't own it at the moment because I sold most of my 3DS collection a few months back. Now I am restarting to collect for the 3DS a little bit, just games that I really want. But The Alliance Alive is a game that I really want to play, and it's cheaper on Steam, and arguably is going to be more enjoyable as long as I don't know how they've modified the game to run on a single screen as opposed to two screens, but I believe from what I've heard that the Steam version of Alliance Alive is excellent. And if I had to choose between the two, I'm gonna go based on price, because I can pick that game up on sale for $20 or $30 on Steam, whereas it's a $60, $70, $80 game on the 3DS to get the physical cartridge. So, I make my choices often by price or by what format I want to view the game on. Price is a big factor. If I can get the game cheaper on another platform and the version of the game on that platform is acceptable, I'm going to go with the cheaper version, obviously, but also sometimes there's just a right place for things. And I really love playing on, let's say, my 3DS. It's a very zen console for me. I'm very comfortable with my 3DS, and so I'm always looking for hidden gems on the 3DS. But do I want to spend $150 on Dragon Quest VIII or $150 on Metal Gear Solid 3D? Not particularly. Not in this market. So, I'm picking up cheap things that I can pick up here and there for 10, 20, 30 bucks on the 3DS, things that I can have fun with. But as far as the collectible games, if I can find other ways to play them, even including emulation, I probably will. I don't know, guys. Do you go through this? Do you go through this conundrum of, choosing where to put a game? There's a new game that was announced at the last Indie Direct for Nintendo, Soundfall. It's this rhythm-based sort of Diablo-style dungeon-crawling rhythm-based game. It looks really great, and I have been up in the air for the last month or two, however long it's been since the last Direct, trying to decide whether I want this on the Steam Deck or the Switch, because I feel like the two versions are going to be pretty similar. It's an indie game, the graphics are simple and bright and colorful, and I think it's going to look fantastic on the OLED Switch, but I think it's also going to be fantastic on the Steam Deck, and buying it on the Steam Deck gives me a better option to play on a TV, because I don't really like docking my Switch. I mean, I'll do it from time to time for games like Breath of the Wild or something that really demand a larger screen, but for the most part, I like to keep my handhelds handheld and my TV consoles TV consoles. So, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm rambling here, maybe I'm crazy, and you just think, no, I'm a Sony guy, and I expect all of my games to come out on Sony, or I'm just not going to play them. Or maybe you're a Switch fan, and you're thinking, geez, I want everything to get ported to Switch. I'm demanding Persona this and Persona that, and I want every game to come out on Switch because Switch is my main console. And I'm here to say you can own more than one. And you can really get a lot of value out of owning more than one, out of having that variety of ways to play, because if you come up against something where the PC port of a game is garbage, you can buy it on Switch or PlayStation 4. If the Switch version of a game is garbage, you can buy it on Steam and use the Steam Deck and take advantage of the higher resolution and graphics and things like that on the Steam Deck. So let me know down in the comments, guys. Was this discussion valuable to you? I'd love to hear your thought process in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay classy.